What is up, guys? Frosty Aussie 0232 here with another Frosty Features. Today we're going to talk about Sunfire. So, if you've never seen Frosty Features before, what this is a comic book background and some cool information on the new character that is coming to Marvel Strike Force. Be sure to like and subscribe and share and help your boy out. But right now, we're going to hop in to talking about Sunfire. So the first thing I want to point out about Sunfire really quick is typically the blog posts. The reason why I started these is the blog posts sometimes will lack on the background of a character. Like they really won't give you a good breadth of or a good taste of who that character is. And I feel like they did a really big disservice to Sunfire. They didn't tell his background at all. They sort of talked about his powers and people he's worked with, but they really didn't they didn't touch anything he said. Hopefully we can remedy that. So Sunfire, his name is Shiro Yoshida. As we move forward, I want to point out there's two different accepted spellings for Yoshida. It's Yoshida and Yoshida, right? So moving forward, there's some characters where if you wanted to Google them or something, their names might be, so for Sunfire it's Yoshida, but some of his relatives like his uncle and his dad, it'll be Yoshida, or vice versa. Some of them are Yoshida, some of them are Ya. Both are accepted. So just so we're aware, name Shiro Yoshida. First appearance, X-Men number 64, 1970. We have another 70s character, so he's been around quite a bit. He's been in a lot of things, and I've actually recently started rewatching the 92 to 97 X-Men, and he actually is in it a lot. He's sort of a background mutant they just randomly throw in there, which is kind of sad because he is such an interesting character. Powers and abilities. So, Sunfire works off of solar radiation manipulation. He can absorb. He essentially sort of a Superman thing with a little bit more of a fake science. He absorbs solar radiation. He converts it to plasma, which he can encase his body in. The thing about this power is it's sort of the comics give him a lot of plot armor, which is funny because. It's funny to me. I say that it's funny to me because they really do seem to play him as a background character a lot, which he's really strong in the more recent X-Men. Ever since the John Hickman reboot, in the recent X-Men, he's kind of come forward a bit. But when I say he's covered in plot armor, so he can fly because of his fire. So that's a little one. But they also he can prevent psionic blasts and stuff because he emits sort of a bioelectric field based off of his fire that makes him immune to certain close psionic attacks. So fire beats being a sidekick, I guess. I don't know. But they do that. So his fire sort of manifests in different forms, but he's a very powerful mutant. And he uses his fire for all sorts of things. In a bit, we're going to talk about he ends up getting he gets sort of nerfed in the comics, but then also it turns out to be kind of a buff by a thing called Zero Fluid, which sort of gives him this extra bio energy thing. So he kind of has a twist on his powers, but typically he's your standard fire user, very similar to someone like Human Torch, Sunspot, etc. Aliases: Famine and Japan's Ichiban. So he did serve a term as Apocalypse's one of Apocalypse's horsemen. He was Famine. Very famous costume, looked quite different, much more badass look. It's actually based off of his Age of Apocalypse version and his one that he uses now because he doesn't have this one you see here with the fans. Everyone sort of started opting for that. So if you look up Sunspot, it almost has like the skeletal kind of feel to it. That is his Apocalypse kind of. That's when he's a Famine. So Japan's Ichiban, their first son, he is very similar to a Captain America when it comes to patriotism. He's very about honor and representing his country, which we'll talk about it here in a second. His affiliations, these are teams that he has played with. This isn't all of them, but these are some really notable ones. Big Hero 6. So for those of you who've seen the Big Hero 6 movie and aren't really privy to it, that is a Marvel property, and Big Hero 6 is a team in Marvel. Will we see it in Marvel Strike Force? Probably not. But yes, he actually, he was, because of that thing I was talking about earlier, Zero Fluid, he actually ran into Big Hero 6 and worked with them for a time. So that's pretty cool. He was obviously a member of the Four Horsemen, as mentioned before. The X-Men, of course. Current run of X-Men, he is one of the main members. The 12. The 12 is a team that was, not a team, it's a group that Apocalypse picked, and it's 12 mutants that represent the earthly elements that Apocalypse wants to kidnap and channel their powers to make him stronger. So he is one of the 12 representing fire, obviously. Alpha Flight, Canadian Avengers. Very easily manipulated Canadian Avengers. They always seem to be working for somebody they shouldn't be working for. But he did have his time. He was shamed in Japan at a time, and he kind of retreated to Canada, where Department H kind of got a hold of him, and he became part of Alpha Flight, which we will get into in a minute. Background: Hiroshima, Japan. So like I said, he is a hard patriot for his country, very honor bound, very nation heavy. So he represents kind of Japan to the best of his abilities. Much like his powers, Sunfire is quite the hothead in like the least funny way. He's not a team player. It actually shows it really well in the X-Men show. But so traditionally, Sunfire is not a good teammate. He opts to do things on his own. He opts to kind of. He's very similar to Wolverine in the fact that he just prefers to do things on his own, whatever. And even if he's part of a team, you really can't trust him. So there's a lot of situations in the comics where he runs rogue and gets captured or knocked out or whatever. So yeah, it's funny that I say that all because it's funny how patriotic he is, how nation-centered he is, but he just does not want to play as a team. Who died? Because you can't be a superhero, supervillain without people dying, right? So his mother died at birth, and his father dies as he's kind of becoming Sunfire. So Hiroshima, death and resurgence. So Sunfire's mother was, excuse me, so his grandfather was at Nagasaki when the bombs fell, and his grandfather died. His mother was not in Hiroshima when the bomb fell, but near there, and so she became irradiated before she gave birth to Sunfire. She then died giving birth to him, and that is sort of kind of a basis as to where his powers kind of spawned from, that nuclear bomb dropping on Hiroshima. So with the death of his mother, he is raised by his father is a kind of a big diplomat, and he doesn't have a whole bunch of time for him. But his uncle, Tomo, takes kind of care of him and actually raises him, and he kind of makes him this anti-Western zealot. So Sunfire is actually, he comes out in the comics as a villain. Which, you know, back in the 70s, they did have that big thing where people who used fire were typically the bad guys if they weren't the Human Torch. So it's not quite surprising that they did that, but yeah, so he came out as a villain. He was raised as a villain. Clan Yoshida. Kingpin is just a small time. So, I brought up Tomo Yoshida. So this is in Japan. This is in the Marvel universe. This is a criminal syndicate. It's similar to Kingpin's, but 10 times as big, with 10 times the blood spills. What the Marvel wiki kind of explains it as. So it is a huge criminal organization. It does deals with the hand, works hand in hand with the hand, but it, I mean, obviously isn't quite as big as the hand itself, but as its own sect. It's larger than Kingpin's New York criminal situation, and that's sort of what Tomo is a part of. So Tomo runs, and so Tomo. Let me get in the weeds here. So Tomo is he's a big part of this clan Yoshida, and then let's actually move on to relationships. Saburo Yoshida is Sunfire's father. So he is a delegate. He's a politician. He is pushing for peace among different nations and things like that. So we're gonna back up. First time Frosty Futures, we're gonna back up just for the look, right? So Sobu was trying to promote peace or whatever, and Tomo, Sunfire, and Sobu were all in the United States. Sobu was trying to be a diplomat, trying to be awesome, and there was a big fight going on, and Sunfire was being his evil self, and then Tomo came forward, and he assassinated Saboru, which made Sunfire kind of realize that, hey, this dude sucks, and these people suck. And he was fighting the X-Men at the time, and he was like, you know who doesn't seem to suck? The X-Men, right? So this is when he sort of swings over, but in working, he receives an invitation to work with the X-Men, but in working with the X-Men, he's not a very good teammate, so he works with them, but he doesn't receive a formal invitation until much later. And because of his hot-headedness, he became an issue. Now, in more recent comics, he's not near as bad, and there's a reason for that. So, Saboru, sorry for the pronunciations. I know I'm just kind of all over the place with them. That is his father, the diplomat. Tomo kills him, which is one of the main reasons for him to make his flip to being a hero instead of a villain. His mother is unnamed, as far as I can tell. I was looking into it and couldn't find her name, but it may be out there. Let me know in the comments if you know what his Sunfire's mother's name is. Tomo Yoshida, uncle, one of the heads of the criminal syndicate, the Yoshida clan. Here we go for the pronunciations. Kinuchio Harada is his cousin. Does anybody know who Kinuchio Harada is? Anybody else in Marvel Strike Force? Maybe Silver Samurai. So actually, the Silver Samurai is a moniker that is donned by a few people. So the one that actually is in Marvel Strike Force is this one, Kinuchio Harada, which is his paternal cousin. Also, Shin Harada, brother of Kenichiu, also is another Silver Samurai. So I only added them on there as an interesting note that Sunfire is the cousin to two of the Silver Samurai, which I thought was pretty cool. Notable events. Marvel's Contest of Champions. So Contest of Champions was a comic book arc, right? So it was when Grandmaster in Death there's a game, right? So Grandmaster is trying to get his brother, the Collector, back. He died. So he's kind of playing this game with Death where they pin these teams against each other, and whoever's team wins, one person dies or one person comes back to life or whatever. And Sunfire was on Death's team. Instead of trying to figure a way out like a lot of the heroes did, this is actually a testament to his hot-headedness. Puns. But as a testament to it, when it starts, everyone's like, hey, what are we going to do to get out of this? And Sunfire's like, well, screw it. If I kill all of them, I don't got to worry about anything else. Like, who needs strategy when everybody else could just be dead? So he automatically hops into game mode and tries to kill Blackfire, who you see, or wait, not Blackfire, North Star. So he decides to go ahead and he betrays his team and the other team and goes ahead and tries to kill everybody else. Which eventually his team gets defeated, and the contest ends with him kind of having his comeuppance. And then the Zero Fluid. So we talked about the Zero Fluid. So the Zero Fluid, due to his rage and things like that, he gets shunned from Japan, and he leaves and he goes to Department H. I said this a little bit earlier. This is where he becomes part of Alpha Flight. And while he's with Department H, they say that they start to treat it's weird because it has like sort of this hand-in-hand thing with the Weapon Plus program, the thing with Wolverine and Weapon X and things like that. But they inject him with while he's there, they inject him with this thing called Zero Fluid. Zero Fluid, it's mostly associated with the character Jack of all trades. So this Zero Fluid, it is a highly radiated fuel. It's a highly radiated fuel source, and when exposed to it, a lot of people die, or it kind of further mutates them. So while he's with Department H, once again, Canadian, sort of like a SHIELD type, they inject him with this Zero Fluid, and he gets this black spot where he's injected, and it slowly ends up taking over half of his body, just like Jack of all trades. And what it does is, at first, it makes it seem like he can't use his powers anymore. So with that, he kind of goes into this depressive state, and that's when he runs into Big Hero 6, and they kind of work with him to try to work through it or work with it or whatever, and he ends up finding out that he actually can emit bioenergy, which actually ends up giving him a bit of a power up. And as time goes on, the zero fluid works its way out of his body, but the majority of his character arc comes from the zero fluid, because after he gets injected by it and it starts taking over, Department H is like, yo, dude, you have this fluid in you, and now you have cancer, and it's eating you, and you're gonna die. And so he takes a huge hit to his being. He takes a huge hit to his personality. He becomes very defeated. So when approached by a Big Hero 6, this is where he starts to kind of realize that he's not alone. He can have friends. He can be a team. He can work as a team. He can figure it out. When he's not at his best, his friends can help him get up to his best. The typical trope there. So Big Hero 6 helps him realize that he is still essentially worth the time, even if he doesn't have his powers or whatever, which, kind of gets him back on his feet or whatever. And that's what ultimately ends up driving him to joining the X-Men in True. So now, after Arakko and Krakoa and all that stuff with Jonathan Hickman, where there's a separate planet that mutants live on, Sunfire is representing the main X-Men team on Earth, living in New York. And sadly, I've had to put the comics down recently for a little while, but Sunfire has stepped forward. He's become a lot more level-headed, and he's more of a team player, and where he's at now is him discovering how that works with him. He's so used to doing everything himself. He's so used to stepping up and doing whatever, but now he's like really discovering what it takes to be a team, or when you're away from your team, how you act as a part of the team away from it, right? So there's some really cool stuff going on with Sunfire right now. I highly recommend picking up the current run of X-Men, Dawn of X, anything with Jonathan Hickman in the last few years. Really giving Sunfire some of that spotlight that he so badly deserves. Really cool character. Now we're going to move on to power level. So the way we do power level on Frosty Features is there are various power levels in the Marvel Universe. The way this works is I break it down this way. Multiversal means that you can end all reality as we know it, and anyone in any other universe knows it. There are very few people in this power category, but I have it in there because it's fun. Universal, you may be able to put an end to your universe, but not multiple ones at the same time. Maybe you can cross over to another universe and end it, but you can't end all of reality in one essential spell swoop. Cosmic means you are a threat to a universe if you spend enough time. Really a galactic threat. On a very low end, maybe you could take out planetary bodies, destroy planets. Yeah, so nuclear is similar to that of a nuclear bomb. With a lot of grit and determination, you could take out a planetary body. On the low end, maybe you could take out a small city. Yes. City level is the most common power level that I'm giving to Marvel. So city level is something akin to Spider-Man. Ultimately, you are physically strong enough to take out maybe a wall, and with enough work, maybe a building or maybe a city block, after running around a bit and taking out putting some very specific hits in a couple very specific places. And then there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that Hela summons on the Asgardians team in Marvel Strike Force. For the sake of argument, I'm calling Greg a regular human level. I get that Asgardians are a different thing, but for the sake of argument, if I had a wood-lined throwing card and a lot of determination, I might be able to kill Greg, right? So for where we're at right now, we're saying Greg is human level. Now, this is the first time I'm bringing this up. I'm going to try to do this a little bit more with the mutants. There is power scaling in Marvel, in the Marvel 616, not the movies, the comics, that they are granted a mutant level. Okay, so the top is Omega, and one step down from Omega is Alpha. So Sunfire is given the Alpha level of mutant, so that strength is quite high. So Omega is essentially planetary. Your Omega mutants are somebody like Phoenix, and Alpha, another really notable Alpha level mutant, is Rogue. So very strong, very strong mutant. Judging by the feats that I'm aware of, what I've read and what I've seen of them, I grant Sunfire he's high-end nuclear. I think with a bit of a power up, he could easily be cosmic level. Obviously, according to the story, he gets his powers from a nuclear explosion, which sort of lends itself to nuclear, obviously. He is quite strong, and I do believe there's an argument to be made that he could be cosmic level, but he can tire himself out. He's just now learning to become a part of a team. He's not that effective on his own, even though for years and years and years, he obviously thought he was. But yes, nuclear is nothing to sniff at. He is quite strong. Awesome character. Once again, highly recommend reading the most recent run of X-Men. And yeah, so that's Frosty Features Sunfire. I hope you all enjoyed it. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments. Sunfire's been around a lot. There's a lot of things I didn't cover. I highly recommend you pick up anything with Sunfire in it. He's a really fun character. Rewatch the animated X-Men show. He's in there quite a bit. He's a kind of a background character, but he shows up often. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up. I also stream every Sunday at starting at 8 a.m. on Sundays, Central Standard Time, on the link above at Twitch TV. Yeah, come hang out. We play Marvel Strike Force. We have a good time. Yeah, so that is Frosty Features Sunfire. I really appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great day, and most importantly, stay cool, y'all.